Welcome back, dear learners. Before the ad break, we were able to prepare a correct creditors control account, and we were also able to correct the creditors list. I have a question here with me which relates to Bafana Traders. We are going to do the same again, correcting the creditors control amount as well as the correct list of creditors. Our creditors control account increases on the credit side, but it decreases on the debit side. If you see here, we have the creditors list. And in our creditors list, we have PE Traders, Together Stores, Lindywear Traders, Number One Motors, and France Distributors. Here is our errors and omissions. Let us now begin. We'll start off with the creditors control account. The first thing is to open brackets. As you see, I've opened my brackets already with the amounts that I was given. A, invoice 154 received from Together Stores for 1,480 was posted to the account of Lindywear Traders in the subsidiary ledger. So this is an error that has occurred in the creditors ledger. Therefore, we'll correct it in the creditors list. It will not affect our creditors control account. B, the business decided to transfer the balance of France Distributors to the debtors ledger. No entry was made. When you come and see how much was the balance on France Distributors, you will see that on France Distributors, they had a debit balance of 260, and it is a debit balance. The moment the business decides to transfer that particular amount, that means I have my creditors ledger and the amount is a debit balance in the creditors ledger, and the amount is 260. The moment I am going to transfer that amount, I'm going to credit my creditors ledger. That means I'm going to come here and I have my 260 here, and I am transferring it to the debtors ledger, and I'm going to have my debtors ledger. Remember, it increases on the debit side and decreases on the credit side. Therefore, I debit it with 260. But what I'm much interested in is the entry in the creditors ledger, which is a credit entry. And a credit means it's a plus. So I'll then come to my journal credits and I'll say plus 260. When I get to the creditors ledger, I'll tell you of what we are going to do. C, invoice 278 received from PE Traders for merchandise purchased on credit, 2,300, was incorrectly recorded in the creditors journal as 3,200. So we say 3,200, and then we get the difference with 2,300. They say the invoice received from PE Traders for merchandise purchased on credit was incorrectly recorded in the creditors journal. So if it is incorrectly recorded in the creditors journal, I want you now to punch and you say 3,200, and then you say minus 2,300. You get your difference, which is 900. And this is an invoice that was overstated. It is for 2,300, but it was recorded as 3,200. So an invoice was overstated. I would therefore come to my total purchases and I'll say minus 900 because an invoice was recorded more. Let us go on to the next. D, the business returned some parts bought for the delivery van to the value of 860 to Number One Motors. The amount was correctly recorded in the creditors allowances journal, but it was posted to the creditors ledger as credit purchases. So they are telling us already it was recorded correctly in the creditors allowances journal. That means our creditors control account is correct. We will correct when we get to the creditors list. E, PE Traders supplies goods to Bafana Traders and also buys from Bafana Traders. The debit balance of 640 on their account in the debtors ledger is to be transferred to their account in the creditors ledger. So they're telling us that we have two accounts again. I'm going to show them. I'm going to start off with the debtors ledger, and here is the creditors ledger. They say the debit balance of 640 on their account in the debtors ledger, a debit balance of 640. So here is the debit, here's a plus, and here's a minus. And there is a debit balance of 640 on their account in the debtors ledger, which is to be transferred to the account in the creditors ledger. To transfer that, I'll come now to the credit side of the debtors ledger, and I'll say 640. And to complete double entry, I will need an account that I debit, and I'll debit my creditors ledger. So I'll say 640. What we are busy preparing is the creditors control account. Therefore, it means I'll come to my creditors control account and I'll come to my general debits. I would then say plus 640. We will now do the creditors list. A, an invoice 154. So I'm using the very same transactions as we used earlier on. An invoice 154 received from Together Stores for 1,480 was posted to the account of Lindway Traders in the subsidiary ledger. That means I need to come to Together Stores, and when I get to Together Stores, they're telling me that an invoice from them was posted to the account of Lindway. That means that invoice was not supposed to go to Lindway. I'll come to Lindway and I'll subtract it, 1,480. And I'll add it to Together, 1,480. Let's go to B. The business decided to transfer the balance of France distributors to the debtors ledger. No entry was made. You remember we spoke about this earlier on, and we added the amount. So we'll come to France distributors and we'll also add the 260, just as we did in the creditors control. C, invoice 278 from PE Traders for merchandise purchased on credit for 2,300 was incorrectly recorded in the creditors journal as 3,200. So this is an invoice from PE distributors, and we did get the difference between these two amounts, which was 900. And we realized that this invoice was overstated by 900. Therefore, if it is overstated, we'll come and we will subtract 900. Let's go for more information. The business returned some parts bought for the delivery van to the value of 860 to number 1 Motors. The amount was correctly recorded to the creditors allowances journal, but it was posted to the creditors ledger as credit purchases. So when we come to number 1 Motors, these are goods returned, but they were recorded as purchases. Purchases are added, yet returns are subtracted. That means we need to come now to number 1 and reverse the purchases that were recorded incorrectly. We will now say minus 860. We have cancelled that incorrect entry, and then we record the proper entry minus 860 again. We go to E. PE Traders supplies goods to Bafana Traders and also buys from Bafana Traders. The debit balance of 640 on their account in the debtors ledger is to be transferred to their account in the creditors ledger. I just did this one, if you remember, on PE Traders. And you realize that we will debit the amount in the creditors ledger. Debit means minus. So I'll come, remember here, I had a minus 900 initially. I'll come again and say minus 640. Here is the complete creditors control account. It is important that you close the brackets, and here we get 3,930. And then here we close the bracket again, we get 43,900. We close this bracket, we get 1,550. Then we add the credit side to get 49,830. Yes, 49,830. We then say 49,830 minus 34,250 minus 3,930 and minus the 2,108. We have a balance which is 9,542, which becomes balance brought down 9,542. That is the same amount that we then find after we have closed our brackets. When we close the bracket, PE traders 2,350, together 2,780. Linway traders 3,032, number one 1,380, and then France distributors is 0. The total becomes 9,542. We will go for an ad break and see you shortly.